Outdoor dining decks or parklets have become a mainstay for restaurants during the pandemic. But after crashes were seen in some areas of the U.S., how do you know if you're safe dining in one? Jeff Stahl joins me next. All right, Jeff, I'd like to talk more in depth with you about your report on parklets, and you uncovered they're not as safe as some people think.
People are amazingly trusting, and that's one of the things we talked about in the story. If you talk to diners who are either in them or just coming out of one, they're like, "Oh no, I don't think a thing about it." But the research that we actually looked into, a number of incidents that cars hit them, not locally, which is great, but it is a certain concern of vehicles going into these places where people are sharing a meal right there next to the roadway. It's actually often in a parking lane right off the curb where they've created a deck. It is potentially a hazardous area.
And you mentioned you did a lot of research into this. What were some of the things that you learned about here in the Valley?
Well, I've found out that the cities are doing what they can to try to really work with the merchants. They realize our restaurants have really taken it hard. The pandemic has hit them harder than most other businesses. So they're trying to work with them to bring their safety standards up to what are basically newly created codes. I mean, Palm Desert enacted some codes in September, the city of Palm Springs in October as well, that they're hoping to kind of have them in place completely by the first of the year or sooner if possible, but try to help these merchants bring their standards up to code, because basically they were created on the fly. And they're great, but there are some things that can be done to make them more safe.
What are some of the specific things that people need to look out for when they are sitting down at an outdoor dining deck?
Yeah, that's a good question. Even before you sit down, when you're walking up to one, take a look. Does it have some kind of a large barrier, a barricade kind of on the upside, the up traffic side of it? Is there a barrier that if a car did come in a direction and it would perhaps be headed towards the dining deck, would there be something to stop it? Are there vertical elements to kind of make it real visible to cars? Because if it's too low, they might not even see the deck below the hood of the car. You should always be looking for something that's at least 6 feet wide and is just has proper definition so that cars can see it. And then last but not least, even make sure that it's kind of flush with the curb so you don't trip when you walk onto it, because that can actually be a hazard.
Absolutely. So what is being done to make sure then that these outdoor dining decks are in fact doing what you just mentioned and that they're safe?
Yeah, well, the cities, both Palm Springs and Palm Desert, which we looked into, they've both this past fall, they've created safety guidelines, standards they expect the merchants to meet. Palm Springs, they've got the K-rail, the big concrete barricades. Those are all pretty secure. It's just a matter kind of bringing them aesthetically even up to code, to make sure they look nice, to make sure that they're structurally sound, and to work with the merchants to give them that help they need. They don't want to be over the top, hard on them, because they realize that it's a cost, it's a struggle that they've been through just to stay in business. So they're doing what they can to kind of nudge them in the right direction, make sure they do the right thing, and do it in a matter of time so that they don't have some issues with liability themselves by doing nothing. They have to do something, or else if something did happen, they could also be liable.
Definitely an interesting story.
Yeah.
All right, Jeff, we appreciate your time. Thanks for joining us.